I want to welcome Patrick Regan now, who's co-founder of the mental wellbeing charity Kintsugi Hope and author of Brighter Days, 12 Steps to Strengthening Your Wellbeing. Patrick, hello.
Hi.
Well, what a story. My goodness me, Patrick. Tell us a bit about how the pandemic has set back still further mental health and mental health care among children.
Yeah, well, I think, there was a mental health crisis before the pandemic, wasn't there? And I think what it's done now is the pandemic is really brought that into focus. I was speaking to someone today, they were talking about the trauma hangover and how so many people are struggling. I think I read your report, it said that 700,000 children, that's 7 Wembley stadiums, are going through huge amounts of trauma at the moment. And, it's heartbreaking.
And a remarkable, deep, worrying divide, Patrick, between let's call them the haves and the have-nots, the better off and the less well-off. And that's pretty stark too.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Risk of poor mental health does not fall evenly across the population. You look at issues around poverty, people with physical disabilities, neurodevelopment conditions, children in care, LGBTQ+, are really, these are categories that are really struggling. And we've got to put well-being first. We've got to put public well-being first. And we all know that poor mental health will result in poor physical health. And we know also that what's happening is getting younger. Some of the stats that I read is 75% of lifetime mental health difficulties first occur before the age of 24, 50% before the age of 14. But we know mental health budgets have been halved, and we know that our communities are crying out for help, and that's why we need some wraparound support as quickly as possible.
And what about this situation described by Anne Longfield, where children are aware that they might need to make multiple suicide attempts to send out that cry for help because the first one isn't going to be heard?
Yeah, you sort of feel like, how desperate can you get, And of course, we talk about suicide attempts, but for someone to think that they want to die by suicide, there is a massive backstory, isn't there? There's family relationships, there's complex. I remember being a youth worker back in the day, and a young 15-year-old girl died by suicide in the school toilets. And it was a cry for help. And, is anyone listening? And I think the solution is twofold, John, really. I feel like we need to come up with a robust strategy. Let's stop looking at 3 or 4 year plans. We need a 35-year plan for mental health. Yeah. We need our politicians to stop shouting at each other in Parliament and come up with real long-term solutions, which are, cross-party, serving the common good. But we also need strategies that create environments for good health. And in terms of education, in terms of our workforce, poor mental health costs the workforce £119 billion every year. So whatever we're doing is not working, and we need a complete reset.
Yeah, I don't know. Is it the case now, because it certainly was the case, that the mental health part of the NHS is the poor relation? Is that still so?
I think things have changed in terms of some of the awareness around it, but I do think that's probably true. I think we don't still have physical health is promoted much more than mental health. And I think we have to differentiate between poor health, mental illness, and mental health, don't we? Because we all have mental health in exactly the same way as we have physical health. And what we need to do is provide support for those that have mental ill health, but like I said, also create environments so everyone can have positive mental health. And I think that's part of the challenge that we're facing. And, and we talk about the government, but we've all got to look at what we can do. We all know people that may be struggling, and loneliness escalates any mental health challenge that we're going through. And so sometimes it may be a coffee, it may be a trip down the pub, it may be something just to get that conversation going. And, you guys do what you do on radio, which is so important. I've written this book, and, it's only a book, but actually words can change lives. Small changes can have a massive impact. And so we've all got to do what we know how to do and do it to the best of our ability.
All right, Patrick, thank you. Patrick Regan there.